This is really nice. I'm gonna give you a little like behind the scenes sort of moment. This is gonna sound really silly. Oh, but by the way, hello gorgeous. Little mini tangent before I get started. I have like a little pile of clothes. A friend of mine and a few other friends, we did like a clothes swap a while back. And we went through her clothes. We didn't like try them all on or anything. I just brought a bunch home because she's like, well, if you don't take them, I'm gonna bring them to Goodwill. So if you find something that doesn't fit, just bring it to Goodwill, is what happened. And so this is one of her shirts. And I was like, oh, this is too big on me. But I was just walking around before this video because I'll just kind of take a shirt that doesn't fit me so that I have a variety of clothes. Because I haven't brought them to Goodwill yet. So I'm just like, oh, I'll just wear one for a video since like generally I'm just sitting in front of the camera and I'm not actually going somewhere vlogging, which I should do more of. But Jake's like, ooh, that looks really nice on you. And I was like, really? Like, it feels kind of big, but like, it feels very cozy. And now I'm just like, maybe I should keep it. Maybe this should just be in my rotation. Okay, to the meat of the story. I'm Stacy, I'm a nanny, and I went with my nanny family they were on vacation and I went with them. And we went to San Jose del Cabo. It was my first time in Mexico, and it was my first time traveling with a nanny family, like on vacation. The last time, I've traveled with a nanny family once before, but that was different because it was actually when my job was ending with them because they'd moved to a different state. So it was a very different vibe of me going there and getting them settled into their new home. I mean, I saw them at my wedding. They did come down for my wedding, but that's like the only time I've seen them since they moved. And they also didn't really remember me, so it was a little sad. Anyway, but going on vacation was a little different. And this is also not just like their vacation. This was a family vacation with, I'll just say like the mom boss. It was her dad and like an aunt and her brother, and like it was like a family thing. And they stayed at a beautiful house in Cabo. It was, I think, her godfather's house, which I have some video of. Her godfather, he was married to an architect who has since passed away, unfortunately. He didn't design this house specifically, but he helped with design elements of it, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And Cabo is different than I expected. So I just expected party city kind of thing, like beachside all over the place. One, I was thinking of San Lucas, which is more of the party vibing area. San Jose is more of the artsy kind of area. And two, you can't really go swimming in Cabo. I think, at least where we were at, like the waves are too choppy. It's very dangerous. I didn't actually go to a beach at all, which I've been to a beach before. I'm not really a beachy person, so I wasn't really too upset about it. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's start with the plane ride. So this is my second time ever on a plane, like, by myself. I'm not huge on planes. I've gone on many a long-haul flight to Japan, but I still am, like, not huge on planes. And the flight there was actually not bad. I watched Seeing Red, which was a great movie. Please watch that movie. And I watched Julie and Julia, which is a not as good movie. I thought it was kind of boring. But I still watched the whole thing because I was waiting for it to get interesting, and then it sort of didn't. So that took up all my time on the plane. Totally fine. And I finally get to the airport, and that's when I start getting a little worried because my bosses had rented a car for me so that someone was going to come pick me up. And so I go through the airport. They had umbrellas that were just numbered, so you go to like a numbered umbrella and you find the person you're looking for. And eventually I was stood around for maybe like half an hour. It felt like I was sitting there for a while just not able to find this guy. Because she said someone would be there like holding like my name on a sign or something, and I just couldn't. Everyone was holding like hotel signs, and I knew I wasn't going to a hotel. And finally a woman took pity on me, and she's like, who are you looking for? And I'm like, will these people know who this is? So I tell her the name, and she's like, oh, he's like way over here. He's like hiding behind like a place where you get drinks. So I was like, okay, he was helping a different family try and find their ride. So I eventually get in the car, and we drive on out, and it's like a while, but the cool thing about Cabo that I didn't know is that there are mountains in Cabo. They're very pretty. I don't know why. I just assumed it would be like all flat and beachy. Like I just assumed it would be like Minnesota where there's just like, it's just like flat and some hills. But no, there are mountains and shit. And that was really cool. Sorry for swearing. I don't know if that's not allowed on this channel. I haven't decided yet. So we're driving, I'm taking videos and get there, and this place fucking blew my mind. It's in a gated community. We had to go through a few different gates to get in. We finally get to it, and I'm like, are you serious? This is where they're staying? Because I really don't know what I expected, but this was like next level. Like I've never been in a house this big and this nice. At least not unless I was just touring a mansion. So I literally sent like a snap to my friends from like what my view was when I was there. Just like, wow, life's so hard. And so I get there and I don't think that I have to work that day. I think I worked a little bit, but not really. And then my boss's brother made me a margarita, which was very nice. Just kind of hung out, had a margarita my first night in Cabo. And the rest was work, basically. So I did not really make a lot of plans, especially because I had written down a few like, oh, restaurants or like whatever things that we could do. But the thing about that was, like I said, we're in a gated community, so it was like a drive to get to the local town. And I didn't have like a rental car. I wasn't going to borrow anybody else's. I certainly didn't ask. They probably would have let me. I was not going to ask because I am nervous about driving in general. So driving in, another country. The last time I drove in a different country, my car got ran into, so I didn't want that to happen again. So I basically decided to like stay where we were. Where we were staying, he'd rented some toys so that the kids had nothing to play with. He'd rented some high chairs because this place was not at all baby friendly. Like, this was very much an adult area. There were sliding doors everywhere. The kids could get these sliding doors open, and it took me like days to realize that the sliding door is actually locked. So I was just in a panic the whole time, like, oh no, they're gonna just open this door and run into the pool, because there's a pool there, but it's just behind a sliding door. There's no locking mechanism, at least so I thought. So I was like, oh no. And the floor was all stone, and there were like 3 stone steps going from the kitchen to the living area that the kids were up and down all the time, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna fall and crack their heads open. So very different from when we were at their normal house, because there's a carpeted area. I can, if I need to go to the bathroom, I can just be like, okay, let's go in your room, and I can shut the door, and then they're safe in their room, and I can go in the bathroom, kind of thing. But here it felt like there was no safe place to leave the kids for a little bit, unless it was nap time, when I would put them in their packing place and they'd take a nap. But for the most part, it didn't feel like there was a good place to, it sounds weird to like store the children, but sometimes you need to make them a sandwich, and if they're just running all over the place, it takes you 30 minutes to do like a 5-minute thing because you don't want them to fall and hurt themselves. That was one of the little stressful parts. I did try to take them on walks, but the house was literally on a hill. Pushing a double stroller back up this hill, I have my Garmin, and I think my heart rate got up to like 180 pushing them up the hill, and I feel like I don't think I've ever seen it that high, and I feel like that's probably not good for you. I feel like it's a little too high of a heart rate. So I did that maybe like 2 days, and then like my last day there, they told me that there's actually a flat walking path behind where they were. And I was like, oh, okay. That would have been nice to know about, so I wasn't bursting my heart trying to get them up these darn hills. But they did have fun on the one time we went down a hill, we found like a cement truck was working there. And every time I tried to turn to leave, they would point back at the cement truck like, no, we're not done. So I was like, okay, I'll just turn the stroller back around and you guys can just stare at the cement truck, I guess, and I'll like text Jake real quick. But yeah, walking around there, I just felt like, because it's a desert, and part of me just felt like I was in like a video game level. I don't play Call of Duty, but it felt like a desert level in Call of Duty. Is that a thing they have in there? I just felt like I wasn't in a real place, even though obviously it's a real place. It's just not the environment I'm used to. So it was just very like trippy in a sense, just walking through desert sands and cacti. And on Thursday nights they have an art walk that you can go to. And so I went into town, and this was the thing I did with my employers and some of their family. So we went on this art walk when I wasn't working. We stopped and got like a churro. We went to one of the very cool things is every restaurant we went to had no ceiling. Like, it just doesn't rain very often there. So it was just an open top. Like, it felt, I'm still like pretty COVID conscious. I still wear my mask when I go inside, but I didn't feel like I needed to in these restaurants because they were like an open air thing. I think the restaurant I went to, I think it was called Pez Gallo, which I think just means like fish chicken. And it was great. My bosses just ordered me food and they got me a margarita too, which was very nice of them. And yeah, we just sat and chatted and got a good time out of it. And it was a really cool first food experience in Mexico. It was also like we were there in that weird area like between Christmas and New Year's, so there were still like string lights all over the place, as well as like looking at the art crawl. So there was a lot of cool scenery to look at there. I'm trying to think of what else we did. See, it's been a little while, so I'm trying to remember. I know there was a night where I babysat the kids because my bosses had gone out to dinner at one of the places, I forget the name, but it was like a fancy, like, supposed to be like a pizza place. And so since I was watching the kids, when they came back, they brought me a pizza, which I thought was super nice. And so they had 2 boxes, and they like put one in front of me and the other one they like left on the other side of the table. And so I assumed the one box was mine. And they were telling me about like, oh yeah, they said this pizza is really good with arugula. So there's a lot of arugula on it. And so I opened the box and I'm like, holy cow, this is just arugula. And I was just like kind of eating off the top waiting to get to the pizza. They never like came back to put the other box in the fridge, and I thought that was kind of weird. And so I'm like eating this and I'm like, finally I just like pick up all this arugula and I'm like, there's nothing underneath it. And then I grab the other box and I'm like, there's the pizza. So that was like this huge thing was like just a side of like lemon arugula that I was supposed to put on top of it, and I was just eating it plain. It was good. I don't know, I was like having a little salad on the side, but I just felt like such a ding dong realizing that I had done that. But it was a good pizza. Honestly, for being at a fancy restaurant though, I don't think it was that great of a pizza, but I don't know. So I think it was one of those like farm to table really fancy things. And what else? There was a farmer's market that I went to during the weekend. So I worked during the week, but then Saturday, Sunday I had the days off, and I kind of just like hid in my room. I got like a room to myself, which is, is supposed to be standard, but I've heard horror stories. So, but I had my own room with my own bathroom, and there's a shower like right outside. Like, it was an outdoor shower, but I didn't want to like use my boss's shower. That felt weird. So it was basically my own shower. Hey y'all. So I'm going to give you a quick perk of being a nanny. I'm in Cabo. I'm here on a work trip. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh, my nanny family, they're all in the pool. If I could do a quick tour of the house, that'd be rad. So we're going to start with my room. So they have boards on the walls. These are all the game pieces, so you could take any of these down and play them. I set up my little like computer station, even though the Wi-Fi is currently broken, so I can't use it at all. My main plan on this trip was to play games with my husband, so that's a bummer. This goes into the playroom where I play with the kids, and there's the mirror. I have all my clothes laying out. The sink is here, but it's interesting because the bathroom is way over here. But it's not too bad. I should just, TMI, leave the door slightly ajar so I can just kind of like shove it open and then go wash my hands. I got a bunk bed, so if I'm like a little grody, I've been hanging out up there because I sleep down here, so it works out just fine. It's a nice little room. I don't have a shower, but I'm going to show you something real quick. There's a little rock pit. I don't know what it's for, but yeah, all of these doors, they're on a corner, and there's a screen door and then a regular door on the outside, so if you want, you can keep the wind in. And this is actually an outdoor shower, which is what I use. Shower right there, so it goes all on the ground. I actually took a shower this morning, and just a normal looking bathroom. There's no mirror, which is a little weird, but you do what you got. And around the corner, that's where my bosses are staying. But I'm not gonna go in there because the kids are sleeping, so. But look at the scenery. That's beautiful out here. There's like a bocce ball court they have. Actual cacti. Here's like a bar. This is the bar area. So this is the grill area. We've basically been eating outside. That's why there are high chairs here. And look at this. This is insane. So there's a fountain. Isn't that rad? And that actually goes into the house. Like there's an open doorway into the house. There's a canopy over there where you could chill out under it if you feel like it. So many like beach chairs. And then this is the pool. And it looks like it goes off the edge of a cliff, like its own little fountain. So here's a little hangout spot. You can hang out and have a fire. And then yeah, this freaking thing's amazing. Here's all the lounging chairs. So he must have people here pretty often. There's a little like waiting part. And then you could swim in the actual pool, or here is the hot tub. So it's whatever you choose. And look at this view. They say that you can actually see whales sometimes off in the distance. Not the whales themselves generally, but you can see them spouts, which is really cool. Look at this. It's very windy today. I have a little screen that I got with this camera, so hopefully that's helping, so it's not so noisy. Little cabana area, all these umbrellas that we have not opened, pool noodles for the kids. And yeah, it opens right into it. So weather adjust, you can lounge outside. Or you can go inside. Isn't that bonkers? And this is our little playroom. I'm not going to show the whole house because there are other people here. It's different than if it was an Airbnb or something. But yeah, this is what I mean. All these doors are like this, where they close in a corner and you can just get outside from basically anywhere. It's really cool. So we walked past this before. This is where my boss is staying, and there's a little gate for the dog, which I've been walking over because whatever. This is the back of the house. So you got cacti, trees. This door leads into the laundry room and then the kitchen, so you can go right back inside. There's literally doors everywhere. You can just go in and out whenever you want. Here's another fountain. The kids and I let them dip their feet in here this morning. Like I let them sit right there and look at the water. I do want to go up to the roof and show you the view from there. So you can just have, this is crazy to me because I live in Minnesota where everything has a curved roof, but these are all flat roofs, like you just climb right on it. They got solar panels everywhere, which obviously why not when you live somewhere like this. They've got a little stone bench just carved in. We're pretty sure this is a fire pit, but the top is very heavy, so we haven't been able to move it, so it's just a table. But look at this. It's just insane. You can see mountains in the distance. It's absolutely wild. Just this view so far. This is my second day being here, and it's beautiful. And it's so different from Minnesota. We literally had a blizzard last week, and now I'm here where it's windy, but it's like 80 degrees. It's incredible. So that's all for me for today, but hope you're having a good one. I basically spent my weekend like in my room, and I know my boss texted me a couple times like, are you okay in there? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, just enjoy your vacation, because I don't want to intrude on them having a good time, because like I said, I was there to work, and I was totally fine being there to work. I wasn't really there to have a vacation, it was their vacation, so I didn't want her worrying about me because she's supposed to be having fun on her trip. But she's very nice, so of course she was concerned. And anyway, so the one thing I did do on a weekend was my employers went to a farmer's market to get some things to eat. And so we got to walk around there. It was a rather small farmer's market, at least compared to a few I've been to. It wasn't very crowded at least, which was nice. They actually had like a dance class going on, and my other employer, he joined in the dance, and there was a part where like the kids just kind of like went up to him and just like stared at him while he was dancing. So he couldn't really dance because otherwise he'd knock a kid over. But it was very cute, and I kind of wish I'd gotten video of it, but some sort of, I don't know, blackmail, like, hey, can you give me a raise or I'll show people this. I would never. And besides that, while we were there, it was also New Year's. So I got to see the New Year's fireworks. That was actually very rad, because you basically see like the whole coastline, and you can see San Lucas from where we were. So I basically sat outside with our host. It was me and him outside. I think everybody else had like gone to bed. No one else really cared about it. But we were just up, we were chatting, and then I took like video of, you could just see like a dozen different fireworks going off like all down the coast. And it was pretty cool. It was weird to not be with Jake, because all my New Year's have been with Jake so far. Luckily, I was able to convince him to go to a New Year's party. A friend of his was throwing one, and Jake's like, I don't know if I'm gonna go. And I was like, go, hang out with people. Like, don't sit at home by yourself on New Year's Eve. And he did go, and it sounded like he had a decent time. So, glad. But it was a little weird for me to, just be there with someone I didn't really know that well, and And I just kind of I called Jake on the phone because he was going home from the party around when I was going to bed. So we talked on the phone while he drove home, and that was very nice. It was nice to have that bit of the new year to like kind of ring it in with him also. But the kids had fun in Mexico. They really, they're just all over the place. We were just letting them do whatever basically because they're on vacation too. So I just, as long as they weren't like gonna fall down the stairs or jump in the water unattended, I just let them kind of do whatever. I mean, of course, we still had a regimented, like, now it's mealtime and now it's nap time. But they were actually pretty good about staying consistent on those things, and they loved playing with the pool noodles. They played with every ball that they could possibly find. They're actually really sad their grandpa accidentally kicked a ball into a cactus and popped it, so they couldn't play with that ball for the rest of the trip. And they also, like, they kind of learned how to do hugs when they were there. Like, they were hugging each other, which is so adorable to see these, like, two little twins hugging each other. Like, oh, melts your heart. Let's see. And the last leg of the trip was, this is, I probably haven't posted it yet. I recently made a video about my anxiety, and this is kind of another, like, stepping point of, like, geez, I should really, like, do something about this. The kids loved the airport, so we got to the airport, and they had, like, huge windows where you could see the planes coming, and the kids basically, like, we were at the airport for, like, half an hour before our flight, and they just stood by the window watching airplanes, like, the majority of the time. They thought it was so cool, and they're, like, watching cars go by, and they call them beep beeps, so they're just yelling beep beep, and, like, watching, and they're just so stinking cute, and it was a great time for them until we got on the plane. Well, when we were on the plane, it was fine. It was when we started moving, that's when they both started screaming bloody murder. They hated it. They did not want to be on the plane. I felt bad for them. I felt bad for the people around us. Didn't have time to feel bad for me. But we eventually got them in the air, and, like, they calmed down, and I gave them toys to play with. I put on, like, The Secret Life of Pets. And so, like, the beginning of the flight was fine, but I was a little nervous because earlier that day, my employer told me there's a blizzard in Minnesota, which I'd sort of known about. But what I didn't know was he told me that an airplane in Minnesota had skidded on ice at the airport we were going to be at that night. So that got me panicked. So I was fine most of the flight because I had a child to entertain. So it was, the way my bosses did it was me and one of the kids, and then the two of them sat behind us with another one of the kids, and they sort of, like, they switched. So, like, one of them got 2 hours, and they would switch, and the other one had to watch the kid for 2 hours, so they would get, like, a break on the flight, which is a good way to do it, because if you have me, you might as well use me for the whole flight, right? But, like, so the whole flight I have a kid to deal with. Like, I'm having him in my lap, I'm helping him eat snacks, I'm, like, trying to keep him calm, and, you know, like, I'm busy. Like, I have a whole other, like, person to take care of. But eventually, like, an hour before we get there, he falls asleep. And that's about when this happened, and I did not like it. It was pretty turbulent, and there was a part of the flight where we actually had to, like, we were going forward, and all of a sudden we started turning the wrong way, and then we started turning backwards, and then we're still going backwards. I'm like, why are we going backwards? All of a sudden you hear, like, the thing go on, like, the person's gonna make an announcement, like, all the shows stop running, and you're sitting there in silence, and I'm just like, say something. Like, it was killing me. I was like, it felt like, it probably wasn't that long, but it felt like absolute ages. Like, I literally, like, pulled my feet up on my chair and, like, was kind of, like, rocking back and forth, and I said out loud, like, say something. Like, I, like, panicked. It was a bad time. And eventually he did say something, and he made an announcement like, oh, we were just, like, you know, a little too early, just had to make some, like, room or whatever on the runway. And I was like, okay, didn't like that. And then I was sat there for the rest of the flight just thinking, like, okay, if this flight goes down, I have to make sure that the kids stay calm. Like, I can't freak out because I got to make sure they stay calm because they need to have good final moments. I'm not going to have them have bad final, like, you know, and I'm just like, this isn't a normal train of thought. But that's a discussion for a different video about my anxiety brain. We eventually get to the airport. We land, we don't skid. It's great. We are stuck on the tarmac for a while because I guess we can't drive up. So that was a whole other thing where we're sitting on the tarmac and I'm like, oh no, a different plane's gonna, like, run into us on the tarmac. We eventually get into the building, and then it was mostly fine. Jake came to pick me up, and it took us a long time to drive home. Way longer than it normally does to drive home from the airport. Probably, like, double the time. So that was not so fun. But I was home, I was with Jake, and Cabo was beautiful while we were there. So I'm trying not to let, like, the ending part be like the thing I remember. But man, going from like 70-degree beautiful Cabo, it was way better than coming back to like Minnesota. That was like, I don't remember if it was negatives, but it was definitely snowing hard. It was a juxtaposition to be sure. I would say Cabo was a good time. I don't know if I'd go back, but it was definitely worth seeing, and it was a very cool experience. It's not a thing, the place we stayed is not a place that I would normally be able to stay at, so that was very amazing. My employers were great, like they paid me all my hours and then like some overtime for like when they went on dates and stuff, so that was also very nice. I got like my time off and they didn't intrude on my time off. I was able to get a lot, like, not like a lot of things done, but I was able to like play games online with Jake. One annoying thing was when we got there, the Wi-Fi wasn't working for like 2 or 3 days, but I did eventually get to like go online and hang out with Jake and play a game with him. And overall, it was a really cool experience. I would probably travel with my employers again if they wanted me to. I don't think Jake liked it very much. I think Jake would have preferred that I was home and not off on a trip, but it's nice to experience good things, and they were really great about it. And like, yeah, they gave me like, they made me food every night, they bought me food, like they were just really cool. So yeah, I don't know, nanny life is like, I was working, like it wasn't like it was an easy like, oh yeah, it was my vacation too, but it's really not the worst job to have. Especially when you like your job like I do. So I had a good time even though there were some like bad times in there. Anyway, rant over. I hope you have a great rest of whatever time of day it is. Or night. Bye!